Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Attendance, Chuck is here, Eric is here, Mike is here, Jack is excused, Betty is here, Larry is not here yet, Gary is excused, Dan is here, Frank is here, and Dorothy is excused. We have Mike Madigan filling in for Jennifer Bainey tonight. We have guests Michelle and Greg that we'll hear from as soon as we review the minutes from June. If everybody would take a couple minutes, review them, and then we'll go over them. Chris, did you get a set of meetings minutes?
No, I didn't.
Right there.
You did mine.
Okay.
These people should date these things.
Our next meeting date is September 14th.
I mean, the meeting minutes I
Oh, okay.
have.
September 14th. Eric, do you have anything?
July?
Or
Oh, no
June?
comments? No,
June. No?
no,
Okay.
I think they're good.
Yeah, Betty,
For what, huh?
any comments on the minutes for
minutes?
June?
No.
Mike?
Yes. Under C, mark crosswalk on Love Road.
Yes.
I attended the meeting with Jen, Dick, and Larry.
Okay.
And then maybe a good idea under D, cyclo, may be employed by Erie County to measure the current striping. They're gonna be the ones that are doing that.
Mhm.
So D says the crosswalk, maybe the town of Grand Island.
No, I'm sorry,
No,
D,
D.
intersection below
The
it
intersection.
Cycle photography.
by
Erie
Erie County. Right. I think that's all I had.
Okay. Frank,
No comments.
Chris? Motion to accept with the changes,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
okay? Here, and we're gonna move on to giving your opportunity to give your presentation, Michelle and Greg.
Thank you very much.
That microphone should be working as long as the battery stays alive.
All right, want me to start? Okay, so we're from the Niagara River Greenway. I think most of you have some familiarity with who we are. We'll give a brief introduction. I'm the executive director, Greg Stevens, of the Niagara River Greenway. I've been there 5-6 years. I was the chair of the commission. I took the staff job because I was pretty excited about the work we're doing. And a year ago, Michelle joined us, and she is a native of Grand Island and is our head of community engagement for all of Erie County and Niagara County. And but is paying special attention to the opportunities for us to engage and be more helpful to Grand Island, which, as you can see, we like to say is the crown jewel in the middle of the Greenway. It's a beautiful place with tremendous potential for natural enhancement and active recreation, which is what we focus on. So we're very excited to, at every opportunity, to be of assistance and contribute to what goes on. So how do I do slides? Okay. I think we skipped one. There we go.
Spelling your last name?
Lockett, L-O-C-K-E-T-T.
Okay, so our mission is focused around recreational resources, building non-automotive infrastructure, replacing outdated industrial legacy, resolving pollution problems, creating cleaner environments, so to promote more active recreation, and with that, economic development. And our focal points for this are the Tonawandas, where we've been very active around the canals. That's where we've done the most. If you drive through there today, you can see all the construction along the canal side, brand new trails and park space. We played a role in all of that. Right now, we're very active in Lewiston and Youngstown. Our trail arrives now in the village of Lewiston, and we're trying to get it from the village, Center Street, all the way through to Fort Niagara and Lake Ontario, which is our ultimate destination. So those two places in Grand Island are very high priorities for us. What's happening across New York State, most of you have heard about the Empire State Trail. It's a $200 million upgrade of the Erie Canal Trail and the Hudson Valley Greenway. It's combining those two, the Hudson Valley Greenway going north and south, Manhattan to Montreal, the Empire State Trail coming across the Erie Canal to Lockport. And what we've been doing is connecting Lockport to the Tonawandas, and in Tonawanda, connecting it to that green bit, which is our Greenway Shoreline Trail. And the goal over the next decade or so is to build a Western New York trail network. These are all, everything in that picture is envisioned as an off-road, safe trail experience where a family with young children would be comfortable riding their bike. So it's away from traffic. It connects to the road system in many places. And as we'll talk about more today, there are some critical gaps in that system where we're still reliant on road to connect a neighborhood or complete a gap in a trail. So we're very focused on closing those gaps and making safer connections. We believe that there's now that the Empire State Trail has reached Buffalo and it's reached Manhattan, the next big push is going to be to extend it across Long Island, which is only natural. That's about a $75 million project. And we're asking the state to do what they've been very good at over the last three-year election cycles periods, is to keep upstate and downstate in balance. So the balance would be to help us build this out in Western New York, because we connect them to Canada, we connect them to Pennsylvania and Ohio and the rest of the country. Long Island is a beautiful place, but it's a dead end. So we're trying to convince them that this is at least as good an investment as Long Island, and they should do both of us. So as I said, go ahead, please. In the heart of this is Grand Island, and as you're well aware, there's some great recreational resources on Grand Island with state parks at both ends. The new West River Trail is a very high quality connection between the north and the south of Grand Island. We, for some time, have been using Grand Island Boulevard as the shoreline trail, as the official safe greenway cycling connection across Grand Island. And everybody very much wants Grand Island to be a part of the trail system. We don't want to go, we do have a trail around Grand Island through North Tonawanda. The Wheatfield piece is a gap that's not complete yet. It is funded. We are going to complete that trail through Wheatfield and LaSalle to Niagara Falls, but clearly Grand Island is a vitally important part of the trail. So the problem we have now, and we'll discuss this in more detail, but as you come over the South Bridge headed north to Niagara Falls, you're greeted by a lovely trail which comes off the bridge and sweeps you around, and then you get past Tim Hortons, and it kicks you out onto a shoulder on the side of Grand Island Boulevard. But it's a pretty nice shoulder. It's a comfortable, 8-foot wide shoulder. So you roll along on that, and there's some bicycle signs designating this as a place where you're supposed to ride. And you get to right here, you get to Whitehaven, and that shoulder disappears. And for some reason, that one block between Whitehaven and Baseline was developed without a shoulder, or the new sidewalk was put in. That's not supposed to ride bikes on sidewalks, so you really can't shift the cycles over there. So we've been stuck and concerned about this block from Whitehaven to Baseline as a unsafe sticking point in the middle of what otherwise is a magnificent trail network. So we proposed that condition continues a little bit headed north on Grand Island Boulevard. So we proposed a detour off of Grand Island Boulevard, up Baseline to the Dell for just a short hop, and then into your fabulous linear trail that takes you up to Park East-West Road. And this is a very scenic and attractive way to complete that trip to the North Bridge. And then you can come around and do the West River Trail and make the whole loop, which people like doing, or you can climb on the bridge and go to Niagara Falls. So our anxiety here is really about this one block right outside of this building, and how do we make that safer, while at the same time promoting, part of the reason why the town has been so supportive of improving this route is that this is what brings business into the town center. This creates a more comfortable, a more attractive town center setting, and we want to assist it. This just shows the potential on-road bike routes, which would connect the rest of the island to the trail system. So pedestrian cycling, non-automotive master plan always has a combination of on-road and off-road connections to give all the communities a way to get to the trail system. One of the things we want to bring into perspective in this discussion is there's a lot more cycling traffic coming than what you've seen historically. You might look out the window of your car on any given day and say, I'm seeing some cyclists on Sunday morning, or I'm seeing them on Saturday, but I'm not seeing that many cyclists. Why is this so important? The completion of this New York State trail system is being highly publicized. There is a pent-up demand from big Canadian cycling groups to come across the border when COVID lets up, ride around Lake Ontario, and they all want to go to Niagara Falls. So connecting the Empire State Trail, which is being widely advertised as the longest off-road multi-use trail in the country, 700 miles of riding, safe riding, they're expecting over 8 million visitors a year. That, coupled with the 9.5 million that come to Niagara Falls, is a high density. Toronto has a bike train now that runs to Niagara Falls, Ontario, 3 times on Saturdays, with passengers and cyclists from Toronto who very much want to come across the Whirlpool or the Rainbow Bridge to connect and cycle over here. So we're looking at ways to accommodate that. So we're expecting that if we can complete some of the small gaps in this trail system, we will see significantly more cyclists, and with that, more resulting economic activity. This is also, we've learned a lot from COVID, the desire of families to exercise outdoors, to get out of their cars, get out of their houses, and have safe outdoor activities is tremendous. And the e-bike's arrival is going to make cycling accessible to a much wider segment of the population because of the relative ease of moving. The numbers are way up, and with the numbers come more fatalities and injuries from cycling. So, we don't have a road system in Western New York that anticipates the pedestrian and cycling mobility that some pretty significant data trends would indicate is coming. So we need to think about how do we create an environment where cars are still well accommodated, but it's safer for people who aren't. Obviously, biking is widely being promoted as something healthy. Independent Health, the large health insurance company in Western New York, their primary marketing campaign is around promoting bicycles. They're the primary sponsor of Go Bike. They're the primary sponsor of the Sky Ride, which is closing the Skyway 2 weeks from now, 1 week from now, 5 days from now. They're closing the Skyway on a Sunday morning and sending 2,000 cyclists over the Skyway, making a statement about how popular that is. So we'll see more.
We're also part of, they sponsor Ready. I don't know if anybody's familiar with those, the red bikes you can rent that are all over the place. And their largest, most popular fleet is in Niagara Falls. So if you can just think about all, and we work down there, and go down there in the areas where they're rented out, they're all gone. People are using those bikes. If you can get those bikes and they come across Grand Island, you can think about all the opportunities we could have with businesses with these tourists. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
And they've got 2,000 e-bikes in a garage in downtown Buffalo that they haven't let out on the streets yet. But that's coming, and they will go further. Obvious environmental benefits, and that push is not going away. A lot of good data on the impact that cyclists have on the local economy, especially in places like Grand Island, where the businesses are accessible to the bike trail, and in areas where they've left Niagara Falls, they've gone on an adventure, now they're hungry, they want a cup of coffee, they want lunch. This is a good destination. So we can look at some next. We can look at some of the risk factors, which are very significant. So this is a very important consideration that psychology of a driver in a wide multi-lane situation like Grand Island Boulevard. Your brain is telling you you can go pretty quickly through here because there's nothing that's constraining you on either side. The lanes are wide. There's 2 lanes in each direction plus a center lane for turning, and cars tend to go the speed limit or more in a situation like that. This is a fairly dramatic statistic. It may be a little surprising, but bicycles don't do well in a 50-mile-per-hour environment. That's what we have out there. So it's not just about speed limit, it's about road design and signals that are sent to the driver. If they see bollards, if they see crosswalks, if they see landscaping, they're saying, we're doing the same thing in the village of Lewiston. You get off the Robert Moses Expressway, you turn in, it's a DOT highway designed by the DOT. It's got the big green signs as you come into town. Lewiston, what Lewiston wants and what they're trying to do now is to get a cute little sign that says, welcome to the village of Lewiston, with some flowers. But instead they've got this, the things looks like they're coming into, the George Washington Bridge or something. So the messaging to the automobile driver is this is a high-speed road and long. So there's some obvious things that could be done, and there's some perhaps more subtle things that would create more of a village center, more of a comforting, welcoming feeling for Grand Island, and at the same time promote safety. So, you want to cover this?
Yes. I'm sure you all recognize that picture down there. It might look a little different today, with the renovations for the plaza there, but, yeah, so there are some benefits to lowering the speed limit besides just making it safer for pedestrians and cyclists. And some of them here pointed out, it's going to enable drivers to slow down much quicker because they're driving, stopping much quicker because they're driving at slower speeds. It might help reduce some of the bottlenecks and delays. And I'm sure many of you have experienced trying to get out of that parking lot right there, and there's a backup of people. And if we can play with the traffic light, the traffic light speed and the speed of it, we may be able to get rid of that problem. Reducing emissions and fuel, we all want to help with climate change, so that would be a definite plus. And the other thing is, I'm a big proponent of is trying to get people outdoors. That's why I took this job, be active outdoors. I mean, doctors now are prescribing activity. So we want all of our community members to be healthy. And I think, promoting safer cycling around Grand Island is a great way to do that. So another reason or part of the step one, creating Grand Island Boulevard to make it safer for cyclists is putting these decals in, they're called Carrolls. And it's just going to help notify automobiles that there could be cyclists in the road, along with, we're going to have signs going down Grand Island Boulevard as well. Now, we cannot put those decals on the road unless there is a speed limit of 35 miles or less, which is obviously going to make it safer for everyone, cyclists and automobilists and pedestrians. There's just a few, and then I pointed out some things, but we don't want to stop there. I want to make Grand Island Boulevard really safe for cyclists, and the best way to do that is have a separate lane out of the traffic. So hopefully down the road, now the narrowest point of Grand Island Boulevard in this section right outside, I believe, is 36 feet. I think we could hopefully work something in there with just taking maybe a little bit off of the side and putting in some kind of lanes. But this is something that we'll have to look into down the road. But the first step would be to slow down the speed limit and put those Carrolls in. And then, as Greg said, what we really want to do, we can skip to the next one. What we really want to do is make a great network of trails, and we would like them to be all off-road. But the reality is that you need to include roads because you have neighborhoods and people don't want to have to put their bike on a car to go to an off-road trail. So you have to connect those trails through road networks. And obviously this is not Grand Island, this picture here, but I just wanted to pull this in. I found this group out in Colorado. There's a couple groups in Colorado that had to reinvent themselves because they were just a winter destination. Everybody went there for skiing. So back in the very early 90s, this nonprofit group started, and this is just one part of Colorado. There's other sections, other communities in Colorado that's done similar things. But they worked on creating these trail networks, both off-road and on-road, and now they are listed as the top destination for cyclists to travel to, purely to tour Colorado on bike. And another one, the Summit County Recreational Pathway System has over 200,000 bike trips each year from May to October. So cycling is big, and we have a huge opportunity, I think, on Grand Island, being right next to Niagara Falls. Buffalo's booming too. I think we could have a lot of potential there. This you may recognize. This is a map of all the trails and paths, both paddling, cycling, all kinds of trails on Grand Island that the town's been working on. I'm sure you know Kevin Cabela's been working on this with some people. This isn't the finished one, but I thought I'd throw it up there. And I just wanted to point out that Grand Island Boulevard is listed as a multimodal street on the Grand Island Master Plan, and that does, I think, require it to have a lower speed limit. And again, I think I just point out that this lowering the speed limit we think would just be phase one. Hopefully we can push it along and make it cycle lane on Grand Island Boulevard.
Did you people, are you people involved with the state DOT when you're talking this
Yes.
project?
Yes, we've been meeting with them.
And they're aware of what you want to do with the speed limit on Grand Island Boulevard?
Yes. Yes. Yep, and they are supportive. I think that's good. Now, I did try and look, there are not a lot of bike counts on Grand Island currently. I expect this is gonna change as cycling becomes more popular in our area. But this is one of the most recent ones I could find. It's on West River, and this is just one day for a couple hours. We had 264 people traveling on West River. And you can imagine if you spread that out over a week, over a month, you know, what kind of people we could get coming to the center of town if we had nice connections from West River to Grand Island Boulevard, which were those yellow dotted lines I put in the earlier map. And then the Greater Buffalo Niagara Regional Transportation Council also has a regional bicycle master plan. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, but they have gone along and drawn out and identified all the on-road and off-road trail systems. And you can see how it's a little bit disconnected on Grand Island right now. I'm pointing to the two off-road trails that we have there going from Beaver Island up towards Headline, and then the linear pathway. And you can see how it makes a nice little connection through Grand Island Boulevard from one end of the bridge to the next, which we plan to use for the town center shoreline trail. Whitehaven, they are considering a tier 3 road, which means that it's a short-term project that they want to invest in and try and promote. I don't know if they have specific plans for what types of bike lanes they want to put in there, but that's what they designate it as. And then East River, they have as a tier 2. So we'll see how that goes. You can skip to the next. This is some fun stuff. These are some opportunities that we would like, Niagara River Greenwood would like to promote Grand Island more. We are putting out very shortly this book called The Bike There Niagara. It's a little booklet. It's got 5 routes in it, which are mapped out in the book, but then there's also a QR code that goes to a navigational app that we've created. And it has points of interest with little narrative about things around Niagara Falls. I did put in a bonus Grand Island ride, which you can see up at the top there with some points of interest. I want to do more of these. So we have, I have intentions of promoting Grand Island Trail.
Is the red the potential bonus
That
ride?
is the bonus ride,
Okay.
yes. So when you get this QR code, you can go in there and see what I wrote about the different points of interest along the route. And it helps you navigate. It'll tell you where to turn, when to turn, that kind of thing. So all of these books are going to be going into all the Niagara Falls hotels. So the Niagara Falls hotels, guests there can go get one of those rental bikes down there, hop over the bridge and go visit Grand Island. Empire State Trail, it's got the 8 million riders coming in that goes right by the South Ridge connecting to Niagara Falls. There's a new Ontario map we've been working with people there to develop and show the connections and where they go to link up to all of our trail networks regionally. Yes, and same both on the Buffalo side and the Niagara Falls sides, Canadians are working to find and identify these trails. And then we all know there's cyclists on Grand Island every weekend, all the time, going around the perimeter. Why not capture those? We're intending to put big kiosks, we're working on it, on both ends of the bridges when they come off the bridges, that we can show and identify businesses possibly in the center of town. So it could be a QR code saying, stop by, take the center town shoreline route and go visit such and such business, and this is what you can see or do. And then for us, I mean, it just makes Grand Island a better place to walk and bike. Just to be able to go to the event we had last week, the night out, to be able to bike there or walk there safely instead of have to drive and find the parking lot where you have to walk anyways way down to get to the town center. And just make our community healthier to get out there. It's better for the environment. Bring in more sales dollars for all the businesses. In the whole vision of having Grand Island become more of an eco-tourist destination, I think we need that trail network system.
Okay, I've got a bunch of questions.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people do. I guess I'll start. My very first question is, what is the plan to get people over the North Grand Island Bridge? There is no way to get a bike over there.
There is.
How?
I do it. I ride the bike. I ride to work. The shoreline trail actually goes, it's marked for how to get over the bridge.
Without getting on the thruway?
Exactly, yes.
There's a sidewalk on both sides. It's actually better than the South Bridge. The South Bridge is tight because the blue superstructure goes through the sidewalk and takes 14 inches off.
Well, I know there's a sidewalk on the bridge, but I did not believe there's any way to get from Grand Island without getting on the one
It's an
ninety.
off-road path. Yes, that's part of
Where's
the
it come in
shoreline.
at?
It circles around.
Goes through Buckhorn.
Okay,
The West River Trail connects to the Park East-West Road, and there's a little left-hand turn that takes you to a path that runs along the side of the 190 and then climbs up on the bridge to turn the sidewalk. So
okay.
that part's pretty good. On both bridges, there's a very nice trail all set up that connects the cyclist to the bridge without having to.
Right.
Is that the path that you see when you're northbound on the 190? You see people in that little marshy area? Is that the path you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to figure out where it is.
Yeah, me too.
That was my other question. My question was how you getting them over the bridge?
Yeah.
Because that's always been a problem.
Right.
They're
Yes.
doing it.
Okay?
They're doing it.
Okay.
We can easily put a navigable, part of that app thing on there too, to help tourists find their way to the bridge.
And then on Grand Island Boulevard right now, you said you are using it as the bike path?
Yes.
Is designated route?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's.
Do we have any
signed for that.
statistics on any bicycle accidents with cars?
There is data on that also, as you know, on East River, which is at least as dangerous, but.
And that's only 30 miles an hour in East River. So that would be a concern there.
Larry, in your traffic study, wasn't there a bike car accident on Grand Island Boulevard or Baseline, one of those two?
Yeah, there was, I don't have it with me. Yeah.
There was one or
He was
two.
like, I think he was going against the light. Not recommended.
We got a
There
lot
was
of
one, there was
statistics
one
we
in
can
3
look
years.
We're expecting to see this increase in cyclists, and if we want to bring them to Grand Island safely, I think even one accident is too many. And if we have more, that probability that we're gonna get one accident is gonna go up.
Yeah, but you realize that when you ride a bicycle, you do have to follow the rules. With pedestrians, you have to follow the rules. We have pedestrian accidents that wear dark clothing and go against the light.
Yeah, I know.
So are you only looking to do something in this one block area?
That's the most critical first step. That's the pinch point.
I mean, it's narrow there now, even with no bicycle path, and even if you were to share it, there might be more accidents to me, even if you were 10 miles an hour. There's something to think about. You said there's gonna be more cycling. How do you know that?
The trend data that we showed, what we're observing over the last 2 years, and the connections, the infrastructure that's being built right to here, connecting the trail system. So we know what's happening. The most traveled bike trail in New York State right now is the trail we built through Niawanda Park, which is just right over there. And the reason it's the most popular is because it's a nice wide side safe trail, and it's connected to Buffalo and it's connected to the Empire State Trail System. So as we finish the connections to tie Grand Island into that system, you've got the likely prospect of significant more traffic.
You said you just talked to the DOT?
Yes, the DOT sits on the Niagara River Greenway Commission, and most of our trails are built by using DOT CMAQ funding, congestion mitigation and air quality. And so the town and the Greenway only have to come up with 20% of the funding, which is what's letting us build some of this.
What's their support level on this? I mean, what are their concerns too?
Their support level is high. They would like to see it resolved. They would like to do something progressive on that road. But as you know, all state agencies can only act with the consent, except in extreme cases, of the municipality. So they want to know that the municipality is moving in the same direction. So in order to change the speed limit, which allows some of these other signage things to happen, the municipality has to request that.
Right, which we're aware of.
That's why we're here.
All right. Kiosks, you were saying, where are you planning on putting them and how would they?
Part of the plans, sign package plan that we have, that Dick Crawford seen. We have to find the funding for it, but we do have planned to put kiosks at both, so when you get off the bridge and you circle around, they would be right there, kind of directing people to the shoreline trails and whatever else the Grand Island is interested.
You have the Thruway Authority involved in this too? I mean, that is all Thruway property on both ends there.
Some of it actually seems to be, there's Thruway property, there's DOT property, and there's state parks property.
Right.
A lot of what we're doing is on state parks property. Yes, we're all involved.
Those are my questions, I'm sure.
No, you covered them because I had, that's what I had. I mean, I said the North Bridge was my biggest one, and I won't going to be traveling there to check it out. Not doubting you, I want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see how to do
You
it.
can take on a bike ride. Love to do that.
So I saw that one picture where it almost looked like the picture of the bike was right in the center of the main lane for the road. How often do you do that? Is that a frequent thing that you?
Yes, if they're riding in the road, I mean, if the road's designated, it's shared with the bikes, and it goes right in the middle of the road. I mean, there's no other.
I haven't seen that.
And how often is it repeated?
Yeah, I don't know. How often this detail repeats?
Yes, because if you have people coming in from side roads, they would have to see it when they make their turn. Otherwise, they wouldn't know that road is, I mean, it would be locals mostly, but if it was an out of towner,
Right. Well, we are planning on putting specific signage with the DOT is looking into what would be the best solution. Signage, standing up signage, not just on the road.
okay.
That would direct people.
The way you have the arrow, it almost looks like the biker could run right in the main lane and the car would have to.
Follow
Follow
behind
behind.
it, yes.
That's exactly what that is. It means it's called a share, which means this is a shared lane, and the
That's
bicycle
not what's
lane.
happening out here currently.
I think it probably is. Actually, just when I pulled in here tonight, there was a biker coming down.
Yeah, you usually have a shoulder though.
There's no shoulder.
There is no shoulder.
There's no shoulder.
That's-
Well, not here there
Yeah,
isn't,
no,
but there is
isn't.
down further
Yeah.
and down that way. Mike,
Yeah, is the Niagara River Greenway a state agency or where's that fall into?
It's a state benevolent corporation, so it's like a not-for-profit created by the state to manage the investment of NIPA's restitution proceeds in 13 municipalities.
And you're overseen by
Commission.
a commission? Okay. All right. I'm a big proponent of bike riding and I think it's great and they really need a separate network. But until that network is connected, as you had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of gaps.
Yes.
I just question the wisdom of putting bikes on the street until those gaps are closed. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so the situation in Grand Island is not unlike a number of situations where until in the pursuit of a better system, better integrated infrastructure, you create some gaps. And so what happens now is you've got a trail system which is encouraging people to ride over both bridges and to ride in Grand Island. You get off in Grand Island and there's a really nice trail, so you think, well, this is great. welcome here, I'm comfortable. That trail turns into a shoulder on Grand Island Boulevard. And then in this one specific block, through historic road engineering issues of some sort, that shoulder disappears. So now we have a very unsafe situation. There's actually, in the middle of that block, there's a great big sign that says bike route. So it's saying this is the identified bike route, and there's nothing else that says like you should get off and walk your bike, or why don't you walk your bike down the sidewalk? Those would be things we could do, but it's a temporary anachronism where we just, nobody seems to know why it got this, but it's a glitch in a system which is heavily traveled, and the cyclist is either going to turn around and go home, or they're going to continue riding through that block in the lane, sharing that lane with the cars, which is a feasible practice in many situations. If you go down to resorts in Florida where people are hopefully driving slowly, there's a lot of that. The answer to your question is that at every intersection, and either side of both intersections, there has to be a sheriff so people coming in to see it. But it's an educational process. It's not ideal. It's not nearly as safe as a separate lane. But the same thing's happening in Wheatfield now. You come, the Shoreline Trail comes up through Gratwick Park. It's as nice as a trail could be. Everybody loves it. And then it T-junctions into River Road at the Wheatfield border, because Wheatfield took them a long time to file DOT grants to improve River Road and get it fixed. So if a cyclist has gotten that far, they've now either got to tough it out on River Road or turn around and come to Grand Island or just go home.
And I question, is it best to do that or direct a bunch of bikers? For example, I think it would be very unsafe to have a bunch of bikers go down Baseline and then cross there at Bedell. Now,
Well, you've got a great shoulder, a really nice shoulder, and it's a very short hop on Bedell to that linear path. So and there's a light.
right?
So again, not perfect, but a whole lot better than continuing on Grand Island Road.
And the second question I have is, we're running into a lot of two types of bikes: the family with a couple small kids, and then the cycle clubs.
Yes.
How do you, and especially over in Tonawanda, I see people using all kinds of different paths. Some use a walking path, some use a new bike lane. How do you address that situation if you have a family of four coming down here on the section of the boulevard that we're talking about with a couple of 8 or 9 year olds?
Yep.
And then you have a cycle club come rolling through.
Yep.
How do you address those types of issues?
That's a very real issue. And all of our work is focused around that family cyclist, tourist, the slow riding group of people. The bicycle clubs, which are mostly populated by mammals, which are middle-aged men in lycra, they're going to do what they're going to do. They should be following traffic rules. To your point, most of them do, but they will ride on any road anytime except interstate highway where they're not allowed on the access ramps, and they will ride East River Road even though it's clearly not a safe place to ride your bicycle. They try to do it Sunday morning early or Saturday morning early, but these, even if we built perfect bicycle paths, they would only ride those in off hours because they don't want the poodle on the 30-foot leash. They want to go. So they're primarily going to ride on the road anyway. So this whole mission is about the touring group, people with saddlebags and picnics and kids and groups.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that, one of the things is the Canadian Cycle Clubs. Now, is that a touring club that you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, not a speed
Not
club,
a
I guess you would call it, right?
Yeah. So that's a very important distinction.
I think that's all I have.
Betty, I skipped you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just think it's gonna take a lot of education. I think the schools are gonna have to pick up and teach these kids how to ride bikes before they go out into the big paths too. Yeah, well, it's gonna be a lot of education, a lot of signage. But it's a good thing, and I think people are gonna connect. The one area that I'm not comfortable with, and you're probably familiar, is Route 31 going into Lockport before Bear Ridge Road. They've got a bike path there, and they got a sign, and then all of a sudden, there's a lot of vegetation. You can't even see if anybody's coming across there, and there's no flashing lights, there's no nothing. And that's a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit right there. Yeah, it's really you don't notice it till you get to it, until you're familiar with the area.
Chris, you got any questions?
Put the one picture up there. Yeah, what was the plan to make that easier? Sign, would you invest resources and shoulders, or what would be the? You said you had a graph up there, we had all the side roads coming in.
Yeah, the east-west roads, the yellow.
The yellow dot.
Yeah, what's the plan to make it user friendly for Grand Island residents to get to this trail without having to take their car? Or load the bikes on it? Like you do
We
now?
have received complaints on that the people are afraid to go east and west to
Some
get
of those
anywhere.
roads are not
Because
really-
There's no shoulders.
Yes, I live on Vidal, so going over Vidal and White
There's no
Acres.
shoulder, I mean, what, is there something that you, is in the works or
Not yet,
resources
but
available?
Yeah. So most of these projects happen when the roads come up in their normal cycle. So right now, because if you're gonna, a lot of it's done with paint and repaving of the shoulder. So you probably know that there's a proposal now from Erie County to repave East River from Southbridge down to Broadway. And the last three times that was paved, they didn't pave the shoulder. There's a wonderful big wide shoulder on the road right there, which is great for cycling, walking, dog walking, and all of that, and a bunch of pieces or whatever. They didn't redo it. And shoulders don't get as much wear as the road surface, so you don't have to do it every time. But so we went to Erie County and said, here's a great piece of infrastructure, which for just a tiny bit of money, you could make attractive. And that path from down East River, from Southbridge to the trail system that already exists would be connected to Southbridge. And so in this next cycle, Kevin Hardwick is putting that forward as the Erie County legislator, saying, we'd like to get some extra funding and make this a more attractive resource. So these roads will be the
I thought I heard that wasn't gonna end up happening, because it's this year they're coming, right?
It's in discussion now.
Yeah,
It didn't happen?
it doesn't sound like we're getting a shoulder.
Oh, really?
On East River from Broadway to almost the whole town.
Yeah.
Similarly, I mean, originally, I thought Grand Island Boulevard, there was supposed to be something done to make it more bike friendly, other than just paintings on the road. And is that not gonna happen, or? I mean,
Well, DOT wants it to happen, and they've said the next time we're paving, we'll take it under consideration. We're looking for things we can do between now and the next time we pave. The reason for having yellow lines is so that in the plan, when these roads go through the next funded overhaul, they get considered for putting better safety mechanisms in them, because the plan says these are the ones that would help us the most. So there's no easy quick fix on those. Wouldn't be smart, just to your point, it wouldn't be smart to put a bicycle sign out there and say, hey, this is the road. Because it gives everybody a long impression. But if we miss that, if we don't do it this time, it'll be 10, 15 years before we have another chance. Those,
So anything you can do to push that? I know Dick has been trying to push it too, but it
yes,
doesn't sound like it's gonna happen.
that's disturbing.
sent them a letter, sent our phone card.
So if you were currently to cross Grand Island right now, Southbridge, Northbridge, would it be safest for a family to go up and use the North River Trail, even though, but the concern is in fact that's on commerce.
Right.
So the main push for this would be to, so it's like the scenic trail versus the amenities trail.
Right. That's exactly the deal. We're trying to keep the town center connected to the trail system, not have everybody go around. You know, the lots of places where you've got a great state park infrastructure like you do here, the gripe is, well, people are coming and they're going into the park with their picnic basket and they're not shopping at Tops and they're not stopping for lunch and they're not buying a cup of coffee. And this is, the cyclists don't do that. They're out there and they're stopping and they're spending, they call them wallets on wheels. So you know, we want to accommodate them into the program and create more of that town center feeling. And that's why we made this a loop and not just a straight line around the island. You know, maybe for now, we should take Grand Island Boulevard off of the bike network. So you don't go this way. We've done that with East River Road. We've said, don't ride the bike on East River Road, not advertising, not promoting it. So the alternative is just taking your thought a little further is Southbridge. We say it's 14 miles from here to the North Bridge. If you want to go safely, you got to go south to Beaver Island, get on West River, ride around and come to North Bridge. That's the real alternative.
Does that have an effect when you say something like that on ridership or where they go? If you tell somebody, don't take this route specifically, does that have a big effect your direction?
Well,
Would you anticipate, you know?
as you pointed out, there's many kinds of riders. What we're trying to do is provide a resource online which promotes riding in this region and helps people plan their route. So now, if there's in Germany, they have 5.1 million members of their cycling federation, and 2.3 million of them get on a plane once a year and go someplace to ride their bike. It's a big deal. And they spend months planning their trip, looking at websites, which we don't even have in New York State yet. But they look for, what am I going to do? So they're going to plan their day based on, I was at the foot of the Peace Bridge the other day. This guy rode up from Seattle, was riding across the country. He said, I got all the way here without getting lost. Here, I don't know where I'm going. So we're in the process of putting those signage and directions and guidance in line. And yeah, we have some choices about where we send them, but most of these people are saying, you know, I want somebody to show me where to go. I want a route that, again, the touring cyclist, he's new to the area. He's not going to go off on his own, and you know, he doesn't want to get run over by a dump truck. So if we can create a route which includes the Grand Island Community Center, town center, I think it's going to be very popular, because the other thing you have here is that people from Hamburg and Orchard Park and Clarence want to come see the water, and they want to park their car somewhere on Grand Island and ride in a circle and come back to their car. That's a big market. There's a lot of that going on in the Outer Harbor now, on the canal side. People are but this could be a good thing for Grand Island. But in all of this, you know, you asked about state agencies versus municipalities. These are really decisions that you on Grand Island need to make. All we can do is support what you want to do. We can provide ideas, we can provide suggestions, we can provide resources. But if you may say, I don't really want to replace it. We'd rather run them over. We need to know that.
Wow. Okay, Larry?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
I mean, your point about, you know, people, we talked about this at our last meeting about the lack on Grand Island of restaurants near the water. And I can just tell everyone, the Economic Development Committee for Grand Island has hired a consultant to do a market study. And that's one of the things that they're going to be directed to look at. And there's a lot of people who don't want restaurants if they own property near the water. And if their home is there, they don't want the restaurant. They don't want the noise and congestion. But there's got to be a break-even point there. People who come to an island expect to see water for some strange reason. It's kind of a, I mean, so they will be looking at that.
Yeah. Well, it's something we've looked at is there's, because our boating communities want more places to go. There are very few places in Western New York to do what you do, to tie your boat up and go in and have dinner and.
Have a drink and
Right? I mean, there's
have
a
dinner.
handful of
Right.
spots. And Grand
Mhm.
Island that's what Grand Island was built on. There were 13 giant hotels around the outside of Grand Island. Most of them aren't here anymore, but that was a special thing. And the trail system should connect to the water, and because that is where people want to go. And there need to be destinations on the water where they meet.
Right.
As far as doing a loop around the island safely, wouldn't it be leveraging West River Parkway, obviously, probably seeing the island from Tonawanda and Wheatfield, where that trail is already safe and looks like well in the works. So wouldn't a loop involve crossing both bridges? In the East River is very dangerous for, even with the shoulder, just the slope, the curves, independent of speed limit, and it's really hard to see around, it's coming around the bend, the vegetation. So not sure if East River really would be probably more beneficial to connect it to the town center if we had a trail going through the town center, right? That's an alternative to actually putting a trail on East River.
Right.
That'd be safe to say.
That's why we're making this proposal. It shows the total, how many miles,
I
Michelle?
think it's a little over 17.
Yeah. Short route across through the center, and then it's a longer route around West River, avoiding East River. So the direct route across Grand Island for people commuting from Buffalo to Niagara Falls is Grand Island Boulevard, then detouring baseline to Bedell and up the linear trail, which is, all of that's very nice. It's really just this one block. So if we could make this one block significantly safer, we could then go back to planning the overall system, making the whole thing work. But we need some accommodation in this one block.
Okay. Frank, you have anything?
Would help.
Larry came in, I don't have a vote anymore.
What's that?
No, it's interesting. I, in the back of my head, I've got a lot of questions, but I thought most of them were answered. I-90, from the 290 to the bridge, strictly two-way authority. Can I say this? Yep. No animals, no pets, no bikes, no walking, no horses. On the throughway. So that's that section from Lower River Road to get back up onto South Grand Island Bridge actually takes you on a piece of the throughway.
Onto the bridge. On a bike.
You have it in a car or on a?
No, on a bike. Is there actually
Yes,
a
there's
walkway
bike there.
from, there is.
Connects right
Is
to the
that why
sidewalk.
is that why they closed that ramp? They used to go from Lower Sheridan onto the River Road?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
It comes, so you go along the shoreline trail, you go under the Grand Island Bridge. And then between the two bridges, there's a path that crosses Lower River Road. And it comes up between the two bridges, and then it has a sign this way if you're headed north, and this way if you're headed south. And it's like it has a little clover leaf that the bicycle does to get up on the side.
It was
It's
not
pretty
a-
well organized.
Okay,
And the Thruway Authority is very supportive. Maintains some sidewalks and all of it. So it's a legitimate connection to Grand Island. And trails on both ends of the bridges do a nice job. We're pretty happy with the safety.
Okay, and when you talk about DOT being part of your committee, who? What person? Is it local DOT or is it state DOT?
So it's in this region, and we have Joe Buffamante.
Okay.
Very in charge of intergovernmental coordination. That's what this is,
Yeah.
getting the different pieces to work together.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So you're looking from us to make a recommendation to the town board
Yes.
to reduce the speed.
Yes.
Let's say we vote and we say no, what's your other plan?
We're gonna lose it.
Well, okay,
We don't really have another good plan. We've worked hard on this. The town has supported the concept of a detour up baseline to Bedell and the linear path.
who supported
Town.
the town of Grand Island?
Yeah.
Okay,
And we've gotten the Parks Department to agree to produce those signs, and the town to install those signs. So we can make all that, we can help make all that happen. The long term, there is a possibility of putting a really nice trail, the way the linear path is, under the power lines. We've asked National Grid to consider, some of the snowmobiles run up and down there in the wintertime.
Yeah,
anyway,
not
but
supposed to.
There's no official trail, but we could, as you know, those power lines parallel the Grand Island Boulevard, and come out on East River Road at that end. And so if we could get funding and National Grid approval to extend that linear park pathway trail, long term, that's going to take a fair amount of doing. We could have a really first-class trail under the power lines and take the pressure off of Grand Island Boulevard, but still get close enough to the backs of the businesses right in this part of town. You'd be running right behind the McDonald's across the street along those power lines. So there is a better solution in the long term. You almost, what we did in Tonawanda, the city of Tonawanda, we had a very similar circumstance right down their main street. And everybody said, this is a busy part of our town. We can't narrow this road. We've got too much traffic here. And they put up a temporary detour. They put up Jersey barriers for a year just to see what would happen. And everybody got used to the Jersey barriers because then they had this visual clue that something's going on here. The town's doing some work on the road. I got to slow down. So after a year, everybody slowed down. Some people maybe started going another way if they wanted to go faster, and they now made it permanent. Now they've torn up the road and they put in the bicycle.
yeah, but correct me, isn't that speed limit already 30 there? Some of it's 25. I mean, we're talking taking this from 45 and you guys are looking for what speed limit? 35?
And the other huge issue is, you know, some people choose to go the other way. Well, really on Grand Island, the Boulevard and the Thruway is pretty much it. Right?
Right.
Plus. How did the town support something, or what did they support?
That was, yeah. Yeah, how did the town get involved in supporting? This is the first I've
And
heard of it.
supported what?
Yeah,
Because I'm not familiar with it.
right.
Town center shoreline trail. And the signage that would go along.
The shoreline.
This
Or-
town center shoreline with a new route,
Okay. You think the town voted on that?
the town board. Well, I don't know about voting.
I think you, didn't you meet with the highway superintendent?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so
John
he's
Whitley,
aware of it.
John
Yes.
Lee,
Okay.
So this hasn't
Probably
been
hasn't
before the
come
town
before.
board then.
You're not aware of it.
The town doesn't mean. See, usually if you say the town supports it, that would mean the town voted for it, or, because right now the town really is represented by the town voters. I have no idea where they stand on this, so,
Right.
and they may very well support it.
Right. Okay, well, I think we got a lot of homework to do between now and next meeting. I would say that we've got a lot of questions. I'm sure that we got a lot of things. The city Tonawanda, you said is that down by where the top store is? Because I don't remember seeing a bike path in the road there.
It's over by Main Street going over to the other bridge. That's where they put the barriers between Young Street, I believe, isn't it?
Yes.
Right
Where?
down in there,
The
between Main
barriers are at
Street and Young.
Street.
Young Street?
Yeah.
Well, the whole road.
It's
is
not a
getting
main
closer,
road,
is that-
really.
Yeah.
That's their main highway,
Young
connected into
Street?
Young. Main connected into Young.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they
yeah.
close that entire,
So if you have to
Block of
go,
road.
and now you go
Well, they've had that
across
whole
Broad,
road shut down there.
right, that's, I
for-
think, the area we're talking.
Yeah,
and they shut it
but
down.
there's no
long.
bike path in the road though.
They took the
No,
road out.
There was at Young Street, and then they closed the whole road. Now, the next, when you come back towards, I guess that's west of Young on, it's called Niagara Street there.
Mhm.
Right.
Before you get to Tops. The Shoreline Trail is running down the sidewalk through that part of Tonawanda. which
Why
is-
can't we use our sidewalk? That's what I was getting at.
It's actually illegal right of ways.
They're using it.
Right.
That's what I was getting at, exactly there. I mean, in that area here, if you push them people onto the sidewalk, would be really no issue.
And then you've got to be concerned about cyclists hitting pedestrians.
You gotta be worried about cars hitting pedestrian. What's worse?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of variables. Where is there now a place that has the sharing the road in our Western New York area that we could, I would like to go and take a ride through?
Buffalo. Buffalo, yeah, Buffalo.
This is made traffic. It's happening. It's not a minor, it's just
Right.
car after car after car after car. But I've never seen a bike going down the middle of the road blocking those cars.
That's, where is the one that we could go look at, or I personally want to go look at it. I mean, the other people are, other members are more entitled to too.
Yeah,
You-
they've just,
You can send us an email if you want.
sure, we could give you several examples just on the other side of the island.
Yeah,
Okay, that'd be good.
yeah, I would love to see that. And I was getting at that, they use the sidewalk over there. Why can we not use that sidewalk? I mean, how does that happen? They did it in the city of Tonawanda. Well,
It's
they just put them in.
transitional, yeah. They're gonna bring it back off the sidewalk, and when they next redo Niagara Street and take a lane out of Niagara Street.
Mm.
So that could be the transition here.
Right.
Say, let's use the sidewalk until we can resurface the road and move the paint stripes.
In your PowerPoint, you had a map of the island with the route that you proposed. Can we get a copy? Can you send it to one of us so
Electronically?
we could take a look at it at our
Send
own
you the whole
time?
presentation.
Okay, so we can look at that and see what, because it's kind of hard to see from here.
Yeah.
Right there.
Just
If
all
you had
those
it at
maps.
home, you could do that, on your computer.
Yeah.
I just ask you,
Snap
what
it
are
off
the
the Zoom,
concerns
too.
about lowering the speed?
Mine personally is more of a bottleneck.
The bottleneck,
As Mike
absolutely.
had mentioned, there's a lot of traffic and I never thought I'd see the day where I have to wait 2 lights. And I have at Whitehaven and the Boulevard.
Because I've been actually finding that lowering speed limit helps bottlenecks, prevents.
Well, from a safety standpoint, I disagree with that, but
In answer to your question, I would say that putting up a speed limit sign means nothing in terms of how fast they will drive. It's been shown. You can put any number you want. We have West River Road. It's 30 miles an hour. The 85th percentile speed is 40. That means 85% of those cars are at or below 40 miles an hour. You can put up any number you want. So you're saying if you lower the speed limit, people are gonna slow down. Not necessarily.
needs a significant change in the roadway itself. They have, people have to.
Right,
yeah,
to slow
people-
down.
Right,
Well, If
exactly.
you could send us the information, the maps and stuff like that, be great. Send us some things and you can send them to me and I can forward them to everybody. I'm all about bringing business to Grand Island businesses. Okay. But I'm also all about looking at alternatives, sidewalk being used. All kinds of different things to do. So we got a lot of work to do. If you could send it to us so that we can start reviewing before our next meeting. and then we can dig into it and see what we want to recommend to the town. And we'll go from there.
In addition, the decision to lower the speed limit is gonna be made by the state DOT.
Right.
That can be made by us. We can make a recommendation and we can say we think it's a good idea. And ultimately, it's their road and they're gonna make that decision.
Yes, but they won't do it without your.
No, necessarily.
Well, they won't do it without the town board's
Exactly.
recommendation. We'd have to recommend to the town that we want to reduce the speed limit, and the town board would have to recommend it to DOT. But we've got a lot to get before anybody in this room is willing
And I
to
think
do
the
that.
other thing is if you decide to keep it, we may need to take those bike signs down. Right now, as it stands, it is directing people bikes down that road at 45 miles per hour.
I wouldn't want to bring my 8-year-old and
But there's
5-year-old
signs
grandkid down Grand Island Boulevard right now, period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
But I wouldn't mind taking them up Beaver Island Parkway and up West River. I have no issues with that. Okay,
All right, well, thank you all very
okay,
much.
well, no problem. Thank you. You can stay or you can leave, and we're gonna move on to other items.
Provide you with as much information as you'd like.
Okay,
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
well, thank you for coming. We'll move on to old business, South Point. Do we have anything to discuss?
It's not that we received a bunch of plans from planning. None of it really meant anything to us because there were zoning changes. Somebody wants to do an acupuncturist in a house on East River. But what we did get, we got something from South Point, and they showed in their drawing one of our recommendations of connecting. It's called C, subdivision C, which is by Glen Avon, connecting it to Brooks Avenue, which is kind of there, but it's not, it's a paper street, but it's also paved. And they show it connecting into Brooks and Brooks into Glen Avon. So that was one of our recommendations, so they have a second outlet because there's so many houses, and that's what we got in our last review, what they showed us these plans. And I have them here if anybody wants to take a peek at them.
We can
But
leave them up here. You can look at them
they're
and,
still, they're moving on with it, but they did take some of our
okay,
recommendations.
so we'll table that again.
Yeah, we'll just keep it on the,
Okay. Island speed maps, obviously, we're gonna have to keep it.
yeah.
No one's here to review it. Grand Island Boulevard and Baseline Road, we're still waiting on the county, correct?
For there's some kind of mapping or something. that they're
Yeah,
gonna
right,
do.
what we
Yeah.
talked about, yeah.
So if that's what we're waiting for, does this need to stay on?
Yeah, I don't know.
And there's nothing to be done before that, I guess, right? Before we get the mapping information?
Right.
No, it can always be put back on. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's the same thing we could do with Southwood. We could take that off and put it back on when something comes up with South Point.
We could do that. Then we don't have
There
to,
is so the planning board this yesterday did review that they have a plan for putting a path in. And I don't know if you saw that or not, but
for South Point?
yes. And I can't-
No.
It'd be tough to describe, but so there's gonna be some kind of a path. I'm not sure if it's crossing roads or whatever, just so you're aware of that. So they're looking to start construction on that this year as well.
Okay.
We'll probably keep that on the agenda.
They're
We'll keep
actually
it
calling
on.
that Phase one, just so you
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
It was on yesterday, if you watch yesterday's planning board, see what it was all about.
Well, then let's remove Grand Island Boulevard and Baseline because we really can't do nothing.
Right.
without that. Number 4, accident study comprehensive plan. Larry, we have any?
At the next meeting in August, they're gonna go over the various reports or projects.
This is
from
long
the
range
committees.
planning. Are you talking?
I'm sorry, the Long Range Planning Committee. Now, and I think they're gonna change it to the Planning Commission. I don't remember exactly why. But if you recall, we did a 3-year accident study for the years 2016 to 2018 on Grand Island Boulevard, the whole length. And we reviewed that and we decided that the one problem we saw were the rear end accidents in the vicinity of like Webb Road north to Tops. And we had suggested that the Heron Point project, if you remember, they widened that out. We asked them to do a scope change to, extend that 3-lane section from Tops all the way to Webb. Okay, we wrote a letter on August 18th, 2019, asking them to extend it. And then they replied on November 19th in a letter stating they weren't going to do that because it was, the developer was paying for the Heron Point project, and they said the benefits of that would address the rear end accidents in their opinion. And I think it's helped. It does provide a little refuge. It would have been nice if it would have been, continued, but they didn't do that. So now the other study that was done was a 3-year study from 2017 to 2019. Everybody's got copies of these, you remember them. And as I've discussed the last couple of meetings, the biggest single pattern we found was the right angle accidents at the signalized intersections of Whitehaven and both Baseline and Grand Island Boulevard. So we've been talking about this and stated that right angle accidents at signalized intersections are really quite unusual. You get rear ends, but not generally right angle accidents. The whole idea of having a light is you assign right away and people are supposed to obey that. Rear ends sometimes increase because sometimes a guy is going to stop and the other guy's not going to stop. And, and that happens. That often increases. So we've been talking about this, and Frank and I, we've got the existing signal timing for Baseline and Whitehaven. And it's, according to Frank, he says that it's where he would have it. And I'm talking about the clearance, the yellow phase and the all red. It's 4 and 2, right, Frank? We said?
Yes, sir.
And so I think I'm leaning towards forwarding the study to the state and just tell them, have them look at it and see if they believe it's a problem, and then conferring with them before we make any signal phase changes. And the other thing we could do is do a follow-up in a year, or the year 2020 and 21 or something like that. We'll get a 2-year study just at those intersections and just see if this is continuing to be a problem. Pretty unusual. And some of the people were just running it
That's
because when they
exactly
got in
it.
the accident, they took off. Well, that tells me they knew they ran the light. I mean, it's, and one guy said the sun was in his eye. Okay. But I don't know. Frank, do you have any other thoughts on that? I don't really want to do the all red increasing that.
No, you can't.
I mean, you can, but I don't really want to do that.
It would contribute to more problems.
So,
This is, what Johnny's got there now is the maximum that it should be. People get used to long all reds,
and then
and all the more.
That's
they're gonna
right.
take-
See,
they're
that's
gonna-
what I was
they're gonna-
thinking.
They're gonna run it. They're gonna,
yeah.
okay. So you got, but there's 2 major drivers from the 30 years I've been on the Amman. There's the young bucks that don't give a damn about anything, and they're gonna go and do what they want anyway. And then you got people like me who've been around for a while, and we tend to
Are you
think,
talking about old, Frank?
I didn't see that.
Experienced.
But we seem to think that we own the thing. So we're gonna do it our way anyway. And I see that a lot, especially at those intersections, because especially this past year when I'm sitting there in the car when Joyce is shopping at Tops, and I was looking to see what's going on, and there not a shopping day goes by when I don't see at least 1 or 2 of them run those lights.
Really?
And it's either a young guy or one more experienced driver.
They're
So do
always
we wanna
T-bone
make,
accidents.
Make a
They're all
recommendation
T-bone.
to have a patrol more? Cop sitting there? I mean, to make a
Well-
recommendation to have the state look at it, and you guys both agree that.
Well,
the
you
set were-
know, I think what I'd like to do at the next long-range planning committee meeting is submit our studies that are done, because they've been done now.
Right,
One was done in 2019 and the other one finished in 2020. And then, I mean, then our portion of the long-range plan or that comprehensive plan is really finished.
Mhm.
And I'll forward to you what my conclusions are. But we're basically finished
Mhm.
with our assignments. We did like you did the complete streets policy. That was one assignment, and this is the other. And then I would like to put this to rest and move on.
I think it's a bigger issue, though. I mean, if we're continually having accidents at that, should we be doing more?
Well, the advantage is we're gonna give the state DOT a copy of it. And they control that intersection, and I think we'll give it to them and see what they think. If they think they should make a change, or they should do something at their intersection, then maybe we should look at our intersection. I don't know, like Frank says, I don't know about changing the phase. I mean, what else would you do?
Well, like Chuck said, I mean.
You
ask
have the police.
Department too, yeah.
That's always available.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a given.
Well, we got 3 agencies on the island.
Oh. Yeah, and I can put that in there. I can put that in there.
Right.
Yeah.
so you want to do that for our next meeting, and then we can,
Well, I want to do it for the next planning meeting, because that's
when
in
is that?
September, beginning of
September,
September.
before
So
us.
And
What I'll
it's
do
only
is I'll-
before ours. It's a Monday before ours.
Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to.
Yeah, it's the Thursday before our meeting. It's the first Thursday.
First Thursday.
So what I'll do is I'll send my comments around and get your comments and get something that I can present at that
Okay.
meeting.
We don't have to
You
make
want
a
to do this on
motion.
a letterhead?
What's that?
You want to do it on our letterhead?
You should do it on
Probably
letterhead.
should.
If you want to. Yeah. Okay.
Well, when you get to final,
All right, I'll send it to
send
you.
it to me and I'll get it on the letterhead.
But my point is too, that I think that your studies are invaluable and they're living to the traffic safety board. You know, so it's not something that we really want to complete. It's something we kind of want to stay up on too.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying is for our assignment for the
Right, for the
comprehensive
assignment.
plan, we had
Right.
an assignment.
Yes,
Our assignment is complete. We did the studies
agreed.
and these are our recommendations. Yeah, we would continue to monitor.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I think maybe follow it up in another year and look at see if it continues.
Right.
I don't know. It's unusual to see that.
The bicyclist was crossing Whitehaven when he got hit.
What's that?
The bicyclist guy was crossing Whitehaven when he got hit.
Oh,
Yeah,
you looked it up.
I
He was
looked it up.
crossing
I have
Whitehaven.
it here.
yeah, okay.
And it was number 24.
Okay.
Yeah, he was crossing Whitehaven and Whitehaven had the green signal. So what was he doing?
Yeah, but that's.
No, I
I
remember
don't know.
the one on Valentine's Day,
You gotta-
because
you
that's when
gotta
my gas meter
do
got
what you're
knocked
supposed to
on my
do.
door.
So we'll keep that on until we get to finish with
Okay,
Larry's stuff.
all right.
I remember the bus coming through and going in the parking lot.
So we'll keep it on. You're going to send us something. We're going to look at it.
Threw a School bus right into the parking lot.
We'll get it taken care
But
of.
I'd like to finalize this thing. See, the thing is, the meeting in September, they do every other month. They do the comprehensive plan and then they do the next month, they do the
Water.
waterfront. So if we don't get it approved in September, it wouldn't be approved then until November.
Right.
But like, it's kind of dragging on like that.
Okay.
I mean, the study's been done and
You want to send it to Eric? and-
I'll send it to everybody for their
Okay.
comments and we'll come up, we'll get something that we're comfortable with and then I'll send it to you, Eric. Is that okay?
Okay. Sounds good. New business, parking on Carroll Road and Blackman Road. I pretty much for the last 2 weeks drive through there every day on my way home from work. I got the email, which I gave everybody. There is no 29 Ward or 29 Blackman, so I'm assuming he meant 29 Carroll because there's a 29 Carroll. And I don't know enough about it, but Eric said that it is posted wrong, the no parking. But you have to have no parking on one side of the street because otherwise you'd never fit a car through there. Has anybody else driven through that?
Yeah, I've gone through there a lot of times.
Well, I mean,
Well, since we got this.
since we
email.
got this email, which is.
No, I
about-
have not, but I know what the situation is with the restaurant and the
Um,
people complaining of parking on Blackman.
I think everybody should drive through it between now and the next time.
It's tight.
I don't know what you could do. I'm not sure what they're asking us to do.
I don't know.
This is
either.
the email I got, so.
The standard for putting parking signs up is it has to have a beginning and an end. And if it's over 200 feet, it has to have a middle, and it has to continue until it comes back to its end. So that's what you can think of when you're looking and driving through it, is I mean, and the signs are 20 feet apart and then more than 200 feet apart. So it's a mismatch of signs. But I don't know what she's looking for.
Let
You
me,
gotta-
can I ask a question? See, I'm confused. When I saw when he's writing this, okay, are we talking about Blackman at the park? Now, what,
Carroll comes like this, it curves, and Blackman tees into it. Okay, and that's where
Okay.
the park is. I'm really not sure what Bob was asking for.
See that?
Any idea, Chris?
No. I guess
Okay,
see, and that's where I was getting confused. And then,
Yeah.
then he's talking about Ward. And
right, I mean, John Whitney sent this to me, Dick Crawford sent it to me. I mean, everybody sent it to me, but I'm not sure what we're looking.
it'd be
for.
really nice to see a map and then see what we're talking about.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard. I mean, I call it Pretzel Park because it's Carroll comes in, goes around,
Mhm.
and then you got Ward, you got Blackman that come up in through there. And they all have no parking signs on one side of the street. Which you have to do because if there's parking and if you drive through it, you'll see it. I took pictures of it and stuff. If a car's parked here, there's just another room for another car to
Yeah,
park.
so you're saying there can
Has
only
to
be
be.
no parking on one
It
side.
has to be.
Yeah.
And if it's marked wrong, it's marked wrong, but it's all no parking. It shows that on every one of those streets, no parking.
I don't think it's totally marked wrong. I think they just have to address the signing and make it following the standards.
Right.
But you gotta have no parking on one side. And I was confused by what she meant by there's a playground and it has one no parking anytime with a double arrow. Why that sign is even there. I don't know.
Well, his complaint is this sign is a no parking with an arrow pointing both ways. There are no other signs on the north side. So is he saying that the arrow goes in both ways, but then there's nothing to end, like where the no parking ends? In other words, you would have no parking with an arrow pointing in one direction?
Well, if you were driving in Carroll off of the parkway, all on the left-hand side from the beginning of that, from the parkway, all the way around over to Say Cheese, every one is no parking on that side.
Okay,
Okay, and if you were to come up Blackman or Ward, the same thing, no parking.
on one side.
Yeah,
Okay,
the whole area has no parking on one side of the streets.
It should be.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah.
But so, like, again, I mean, maybe I can send a email to Bob and
Mhm.
ask him what he's really looking for.
Yeah, what's a solution? I
Yeah,
don't know.
clarification on it.
it'd be good if he had a map and then he would color it up with what's he's proposing.
It's obviously
Okay.
something about the sign
Yes.
placement.
So if everybody would just take a look at it and then I'll call or I'll send Bob an email and ask him what he's looking for, so get some kind of clarification. Like I said, I've got it from everybody. And that's why I made it. And like I said, I drove through it so many times on my way home from work. I'm thinking, I'm not sure what we're looking for. So we'll keep that for old business. Parking on Ferry near Anchor Marine driveway.
I talked to the manager of Anchor Marine, and he said the problem is on certain nights with Ferry Village being popular and dinners, that if you have parking on both sides of his driveway, cars, you cannot see getting out of his driveway. I went down there on a Wednesday and there were 2 cars parked before his driveway and the sight distance was horrible.
Mhm.
And I could see more cars. If there were more cars behind those 2 cars, I wouldn't have seen anything. And someone told me on Saturday they were parked up and down both sides of that driveway. I know someone who lives on Ferry, and I've asked them to check on it and let me know. So if you want to see it, you should go Wednesday night, Friday night,
I was gonna say Friday. if it's
Saturday,
Friday,
it's right, and Saturday's supposed to be too. 5-ish, 6-ish, in between that time. And then what I did, I pulled in Anchor Marine and came out so I could see both sides. And I can't imagine pulling out with cars on both sides of his driveway, towing a boat. But if he's towing a boat and you gotta make this wide swing, I mean, you would
would
be
never make
creeping
it.
out. And I see I believe there is a problem, but I think y'all should look at it and on one of those nights or a couple of those nights and see what he's talking about. I don't think he's wrong in asking for this. And he asked 100 feet on each side of that driveway be restricted, no parking anytime. He's also saying the neighbors across the street are starting to park on that side of the street, and he doesn't know why. So by next meeting, if you want to do that, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, check them out and get your opinion. And
Let me ask you, Anchor Marine has parking, they have a big parking lot, right?
Mhm.
Not by the street though. It's
No.
way in the back.
Oh, is it?
yeah, you got to go quite a ways in before you can even turn around.
Right.
It's like a lane and a half road.
The problem is the Village Inn. All those people are going to the Village Inn.
Yeah, I know, but the Village Inn's got a pretty good sized parking.
And
lot.
that's one of the things he brought up is that he doesn't know why they're not always
Yeah,
using
see, I
it.
don't think they're using all the spaces there.
And that was one of his
Oh.
concerns too.
You think it's full?
I think there are times when it's pretty busy.
It shouldn't be his responsibility to do that. We're asking him to do something that's not on his property to block it.
And if something happened, he'd be liable.
Yeah. So take a look at it. We'll discuss it next
All right.
meeting, and if we all agree that we think it should be 100 feet on each side, or if we think it should be more, we'll deal with it.
That's all we got, roundtable. Eric, start with you.
Anybody put in for the Complete Streets Committee from this board? I sent everybody out an email that they were looking for.
I know they're looking. I was told they had one person. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Because well, I thought somebody from this board should actually be on it because we did the complete streets.
Right.
And I called Rhonda and she says, nope. So I just sent her an email. I just gave her my name and I says, put me on there. But I don't know if she's got anybody else, period, from anybody else.
I don't want to be on another committee. I mean, I
Okay.
get
Well, you're-
long
'cause you
range.
guys-
I sat through a meeting 3 hours on last Thursday night.
No, I know.
I'm here tonight. I don't want to be in another.
Well,
committee.
I put my name on because I think
Yeah,
we
I
should be
understand.
representative on.
You're dedicated.
Yeah.
We
I
appreciate it.
got all this free time. That's fine.
Okay, Betty, anything?
A couple things. Whitehaven Road going west, where you make the right-hand turn onto the thruway. There was a car accident there at some point in time and the barrier got bent and the standard is leaning over into the lane where you get on the thruway this way. So it's going to come down sooner or later. And on Staley Road going west, as you go over the overpass past Burger King, there's a nice big pothole that's developing on the
I
right
see it
side.
Every morning when I go get my Tim
Yeah.
Hortons.
Yeah, and the bikes are the ones that get hurt with them.
Yeah.
So, but that's standard. Look at it and see what you think, but it's
Why don't you
leaning
not
more
Pothole, what road are you talking about?
on
Staley
Staley
Road.
Road,
right
past
by the
Burger King,
overpass.
going over the overpass. There's
So
a,
Ferry Road is a town road.
no,
No,
Staley
Staley.
Road,
Staley Road.
Staley
Yeah, why
Road.
don't you, I was gonna say, why don't you send an email to Dick?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So Staley
know
is a
about
town
that.
road, correct or not?
It's a town road.
Town road.
right,
Well,
but the
then just-
throughway overpass is throughway, I believe, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but the potholes on
Yeah.
Staley Road.
If
Yeah.
it's on the bridge.
It's not, it's before
okay,
the bridge.
If it's on the road, it's the town. would
No,
patch
it's
the
on
pothole.
the bridge, on the overpass itself. And there's another place where bikes can't go because there's no side lanes. That's a real dangerous spot
Yeah.
when you go over that Staley Road. There's no. Your turn.
Your turn.
I would just like to thank Chuck for chairing another successful National Night Out.
With clean water.
That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Chris?
I have something really quick. You might think I'm crazy, but to address what Larry was talking about on the traffic thing, lights. And this is only to east-west traffic, because I've had a couple of people bring this up to me, investigating accidents over the years, and I was kind of like this when they thought about it. When you have Grand Island Boulevard, the baseline, when you're coming down east or west, either way, when you look, if you're not paying attention, you pick up the signal from the road
Ahead,
past you.
right.
And if you are not paying attention, what people have done is they'll take the signal from the road further down. Now, these are our two closest roads we have. We don't have this anywhere else on Grand Island. So people are coming down. Now, this is to it. So my curiosity would be, the violators, are they going east-west? Obviously, the
North-south,
would apply.
right.
It's the east-west from what
That's
I've
good.
seen, because
So
we're
you
on the
take a
corner.
look and you tell me what you think, but I've noticed that's come up a few times. You'll pick up the signal, like if you're coming off the thruway, you're going down Whitehaven, if you're not paying attention, those signals aren't,
So the two signals you're talking about is the one at baseline,
In Grand
and there's
Island
another one
Boulevard.
at the boulevard.
Right.
Yep.
And so that you see them both,
Yes.
but
And they're not
if you-
timed.
If you're looking at the one that's farther away, you say, oh, it's
They're not
green,
the
and
same, and if you're not.
I've
paying
heard that
attention-
before.
And if you're not paying attention, because I don't know how you guys would know. I don't know if they line those up or.
They're
how
not
they-
timed.
I
They're
don't
not
know, but
timed.
People have said that to me a few times.
That's the worst accident place.
And
My
they-
building got hit.
Because they
It's
look up
far
and they're
away
like,
from
"I
that
could've
intersection."
swore it was this color.
Right.
Well,
Have you guys run into that? Is there technology or anything, hoods or?
I think it's the
I know it
timing.
came up a long time ago, Mike Hepka.
But if
That's
you
how-
look at it, you go
Mhm.
take a look and tell me what you think.
It could
Going
make
east, west
sense.
On either way.
And
Hey,
and it's so
everybody else
wide
can look at
open,
it.
you
You've
wouldn't
got
think
all
there'd
those
be
accidents. It'll
accidents.
tell you who's going eastbound and who's going westbound.
Right.
You look at that accident study, it tells you who's
Yeah,
going eastbound
it's
and
not a,
westbound.
it's not a.
So
it's
who
not a
the-
north-south
that's a good
issue.
point.
It'd be east-west.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
east-west because a school bus
I
got
don't know
hit
what you
there.
could do about
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of
Change the
is
timing
line
of
the
the
lights
lights.
so they're
Yeah.
exactly the same.
it. Yeah, it's, yeah,
That's, I don't know, I'm not, that's not my. purview, I don't know.
you don't want to, I don't think you want to do
I
that.
don't know.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
remember George?
That's the
People
worst
from Erie
intersection.
County?
That's our
I'm
biggest.
just throwing it out
When I
there.
was
My building
doing
got
it,
hit.
he
Look how
wanted
far
me
my
to
building is.
tie
Took my
the three
gas
signals
meter out of my
together,
building.
Oh.
tie all three of them together.
Unbelievable.
Just
Okay,
tying
Larry, you got anything?
two on the-
Because I came in late, I had no idea what this was about, from the point of view. The Greenway Commission is doing what? They want to use Grand Island Boulevard? And do they have a proposal that we can look at?
We're
Is there a
serious.
map?
They
setting
gave a
us- They're
presentation.
sending us the presentation.
They're setting,
That we saw tonight when you weren't here.
They
Yeah.
presented it.
You can
Yeah,
zoom
they'll
it
send
and
it
see
to
it
us
too.
and-
if
is
you-
it on the town website?
Yeah, they zoomed it
Okay.
tonight.
We briefly discussed it last meeting also, I think, came out.
Right.
Yeah, if you watch tonight's Zoom meeting, you'll see it. You'll see the.
And you can freeze it too.
But you're gonna
Take a
get the
picture of that
presentation.
map.
They're gonna send it to us. So you'll have the whole presentation if you just want to watch the Zoom meeting.
You have to get a bucket of popcorn.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I mean,
Yeah.
as the traffic safety board, I mean, you like to support it if it's feasible.
But that's what
And
we're
the
looking at.
hesitation is what? That it's,
They want to reduce the speed limit on Grand Island Boulevard. That's what their ultimate goal is.
For one block, right?
No,
If-
no, they
See,
want to do the whole
and I
boulevard
think my point is,
and they want to,
okay, people are gonna drive Grand Island Boulevard. If you put up a sign that says 35, for about 2 weeks, that they'll be slowing down. And then later on, people are just gonna go whatever speed they want to go.
Whatever.
So
speed
you're saying
comfortable
that, so she's saying, well, you don't want to put your child on a road where that's 45, but if you put that 35 sound, then you're safe.
No, she's
You know,
saying
there's
that-
just way
That's
too much
just not
traffic.
true.
She's saying that
way
she
too
can
much
mark the
traffic.
road with the shared arrow.
yeah, they want to mark the road.
Did you look at that mark? 'Cause I can't say that I've ever seen a big huge bike mark in the middle of a lane,
Right.
which would actually almost teach bikers to do something that I would say is probably, some of them do, but still
Yeah.
on a major highway or runway like this.
Even at 35 miles an hour. When I saw that up there, I go, no.
There's a crazy marking
I've
on River
never
Road.
seen it before. A big bike in the middle, picture on the road, in the center of the road, suggesting that you should be, riding the bike right in the middle of the road as opposed to on the right. or
Have you
left
gone
hand
off
side.
the South Bridge onto River Road and see that crazy setup they got over there?
Linwood Avenue.
Right on River Road.
Okay,
tell you,
that
what I
has its
have-
own lane
What
though.
I
I
have
know, but it's
seen
nuts.
is,
55,
let's say a
45,
4-lane
35,
highway,
30.
and there's, let's say you've got 2 eastbound
25.
and 2 westbound lanes, and the curb lane would have a bike, in other words, one of the 2.
But it would actually have a bike lane in it.
Well,
Right.
you're supposed to share it, and that's the idea, that, so the bike, the symbol is in the center of the lane, and the idea is that you share it.
Just
But
say
there's
it's a
also
shared
another lane for the cars, their own.
I don't
I've
think-
seen
It's
that
gonna
on
take a
Grand
lot of
Island.
education to people. don't you
I think
think?
it's just saying that lane is shared lane. I don't think it's its own.
Well, it's shared, in other words, it is.
Arrow is dead center.
Oh.
So
Well, let's
if
see,
I'm a biker, I'm thinking that it's okay for it to be dead center in the road.
yeah, let's see what they send us so we can, I want to go and look somewhere else. Um,
I think Linwood Avenue.
Yeah.
They turn Pearl Street.
I like it.
Downtown Buffalo.
I think they're right, it's about just as wide load.
Initiative of Buffalo.
Okay.
But like I said, that's a much different situation.
I take my
Busy,
stationary.
and traffic is busy, but much different situation. rather than
Yep.
city limits.
That's all I have. now.
Okay, Frank,
Darn fly.
Thinking about Whitehaven at Baseline and at the Boulevard. And that signal. All these accident reports, Whitehaven is the worst. at both
Absolutely.
intersections.
Right.
I mean, no doubt about it. Whitehaven is the problem.
So you're saying the cars that are running it are going, okay, you're saying the people who,
Just
Who-
the majority of the accidents on the whole island are on Whitehaven Road
Baseline road.
with Baseline and the Boulevard.
right,
You wanna know,
Baseline and Grand Island Boulevard, not so much.
there's no, not at all.
you want to know a true fact? Dorothy and Kennedy started this traffic board because of that intersection.
Hmm.
Because of the
Which one?
accidents back 30-some years ago,
Which intersection?
Baseline and Whitehaven Road.
Yeah.
That's when they started the traffic board because of accidents there, and they're T-bone accidents. And when you hit a car in the center of that intersection, it comes 2 buildings from the center of the road, they are flying when they get off of the throughway.
Put in a
I think they
roundabout.
forget they're coming from 65 to
Roundabout.
30,
Roundabout will
20,
slow 'em right
45
down.
actually.
roundabout. I'd like to see a roundabout up here and there.
Yeah.
So,
Here's the other.
yep,
With some more
This is
trucks
Whitehaven.
going over.
those are the things to think about. Okay, you got anything? Okay,
Make a
Well,
motion.
motion to adjourn. It's hot in here.
It is. A motion that we adjourn.
Thank you. I think we accomplished a lot.
Hey, Chris,